Well, hello, everybody, and happy Friday evening or whatever day and time it is where you are. Welcome to our August 2024 Operating Crew Giveaway. My name is Ray Arnott. So glad you could join us. We're happy to be joined by the owner of Late Night Hobbies, Joey, and I should have asked you prior. Let me guess. Let me try. Joey Busick. Did I get it right?
Close.
Close. I was
so close.
Go ahead.
My go, by the way, my father pronounces it, and he says Bootsick.
Bootsick. All right. Well, we're going to stay with Joey for now because I'll have to practice that 3 or 4 times to get that down. But nonetheless, Joey's here from Late Night Hobbies, supporting the August 2024 Operating Crew Giveaway. And we'll get into giving that away. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit about Joey and what he's got going on. And we'll also say hi to a few folks that are joining us here. Todd Armstrong asking if this is where the party's at. Yep, it's where the Friday night party is for at least the next half hour. So glad you could join us there, Todd. And Darren joining us from Queensland, Australia. So it's I think it's mid-morning around that neck of the woods. So glad you could join us there from Australia. And I'm sure we'll have a few more folks joining us as well. You can throw in the comments. We'll say hello to you. Robert Thomas also stopping by saying howdy to everyone. So glad to see you and everybody else that's joining us as we give our prize away to the operating crew that helps support the podcast and our appreciation to that. So Joey, you and I met each other at Amherst, and I'll tell the story real quick that you walked up and you had a whole bunch of samples, and I think I tried stealing them and taking them home, and you said no, which was a little painful, and I think I swore I'd never talk to you again. But then John Farrington mentioned that he had one of your kits, and it was stunning, and John also does an excellent job with finish, too, so credit to John Farrington and the work he does. And then you and I reconnected, and we had a conversation, and I got 2 kits from you, one you were gracious enough to give, and then the one I purchased from you. And they were so awesome to build. I was like, I got to get you on, and we'll talk a little bit about your business, and we'll get one of these kits out to a member of the operating crew because they're a lot of fun. Why don't you start by telling, how did you get into doing these kits?
Well, it began with me really kind of falling in love with wood kits. So I picked some up from ATLP to work on my switching layout. Not this one, the one on the other side of my basement. And I really liked it, how they went together. I liked how they took the paint. They're easily modifiable because it's wood, and I'm a woodworker, so it's like it felt right. And then I started looking around for because I was planning another layout, still planning it for when we moved to a new house. And so I thought, well, who else makes these things? Because I'm going to need a lot of this type of stuff. It's going to be more of a modern layout, and nobody makes wood kits with modern like designs in mind. So I'm like, all right, so I'll just scratch build them. That's fine. And I thought, well, what's an easier way to do that than to just get a laser cutter? And then while I was creating them, I'm like, you know what? Other people might like this. I should just make them into kits. And so that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, like you mentioned, ITLA, and I think of Mind Mount Models, and there's a lot of those folks that do these laser kits. But you're right; they're focused more on like a little bit older building, and not to say even some of the buildings you do couldn't be necessarily an older building, but more of that industrial commercial style building that you're putting out.
Yeah, the stuff I gravitate towards is the stuff that I want for my layout.
Yeah.
I'm my primary customer.
Yeah, and that's something we hear with the cottage industries. It's funny. It's like a repetitive thing. It's like, why'd you start? Well, because I needed something. It's pretty common. It's usually they don't just start to make some. It's usually because they have a need for themselves, and then find out a lot of people are kind of in that same need. And I'll tell you that I was wildly impressed when you brought the samples over, because it was that type of building that I kind of want and need on my layout as well. That isn't plastic, nothing wrong with plastic, but it was just so much crisper. The detail just seemed to be that much better.
Yeah, it's I I like to create things that they just feel believable because you see them so often. Like that type of building, you just see it everywhere, right? And it's like, oh, it's just kind of superfluous. It's like it's everywhere, so it feels believable because you see it so often. And that's the type of stuff that I wanted for my layout. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna make this.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your first building, and then, kind of a little bit of the offerings that you have. I mean, we can check them out, and I'll put the link up. Folks can hit your website as well. It's here we go, latenighthobbies.com. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're offering and kind of how these buildings came about a little bit?
Yeah. So kind of what I was alluding to before is that these are things I see all the time. There's a little small industrial park about 10 minutes from where I live that has just these types of buildings littered everywhere. I'm like, this is great. This is the type of environment I want to create. And so the first building, we pull out the buildings here. This was the first one. This was actually featured in one of my videos. And this is near to scale. It's a little bit shorter and thinner than the actual one, but I'm out of camera. So this type of building here is like it's called a flex property. So there's office space and like warehouse space, or you could turn it into a automobile shop or something like that. And then the other variation of it was this one, which is the one I believe you picked up. And this is the actual one that I showed you when we were at Amherst. So it was this one and something else. Maybe it was this one, which is just like a background version of that. I keep messing up the camera, but so those were the first ones, just because they're so universal. You can use them for almost anything, or even just like an annex building to something else, So that turned into like, okay, well, how can I modify that a little bit? How can I find something similar to kind of go within that sort of environment? And that's just kind of how it started. And that's continuing how it's going. And now I'm starting to, primarily in HO, starting to venture into N scale. So we're going to have similar structures. They probably won't be identical because it's a lot harder to work in N scale with some of this laser cutting stuff. I need a little bit more of a precise laser to be able to do what I want to do for N scale, but that requires a lot more funding. So hopefully this will pay for that. I've already paid off my laser cutter from when I started selling these. So the trajectory is good.
That's good. Yeah, I think you got something that's
the rest
really
of the offerings,
great.
most of them are actually cool.
Yeah, well, you've got a great thing going for sure. I think that you've got an awesome offering, and I think there's a lot of great kits. For example, that one bay garage that we're actually giving away tonight as well was the one I purchased, and that was the one obviously you mentioned you brought to the table. But then John Farrington's using it as a propane company, and they say 80% or more of art is stealing. Well, I'm stealing from John Farrington, and I'm doing the same thing because I needed a good little building for my propane. It's not the building itself isn't rail served. They obviously have racks outside for the propane, but it works for it's exactly one of these small, especially up this way. New England has quite a bit of pup truck propane kind of delivery stuff. And that'd be perfect, like a one bay garage where they do some basic maintenance on the truck there. And then maybe they keep some other, extra hose and all that supply in there. And it was absolutely perfect. So it's a great kit.
Yeah, it's actually, he was originally looking to get this one, the bigger one. And then he showed me a spot where he wanted to put it on his layout. And I'm like, I don't know if that's going to fit. Give me your measurements. And he's like, no, that's not going to fit. So we were chatting a little bit, like, you know what? I'm just going to shrink it down. And then we created a half size, and that's kind of how that came about. So, and funny enough, that's my best-selling kit. So it's all thanks to John showing me where he wanted to put it. I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's make this.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's the depth of, like a one bay. You could get a single axle tractor, a single axle truck in there, propane delivery truck. It just works out perfect for that. But you could do a whole bunch of other things, like you mentioned, a small car repair. It could even be, it could be a gas station if you wanted to, an older style gas station with a, or a service center with a small pump out front. There's just a lot of different opportunities with that. And One of the things that also
it
was
could
neat to
be,
me that
no, I was just going to
go
say,
ahead.
you could be a small business that has a laser cutting operation.
Yeah. Right in that building. Right. Yeah. The other thing that I thought was neat, and you mentioned this, that these buildings that you model these after, these aren't just kind of, all growing up in your head. You actually go out and you'll measure real buildings and model them after things you see, which I think is
Yeah.
absolutely kicks up the level of realism, makes it authentic.
Yeah. I actually am going to be visiting an actual railroad this weekend. I got permission from one of the supervisors there to actually go on site, take some photos and some measurements of some of the actual buildings. They're very in line with the type of stuff I produce already, so I'm looking forward to that. I will say though that these kits, I just want to disclaimer, these are what I call starting points. They're not the most detailed thing in the world. They have enough detail to be able to stand on their own, but it's, they have a lot of potential for the modeler to go ahead and just really deck them out, and really throw some pizzazz on them.
Yeah, I've already started
It
looking
keeps
at
the cost
mine.
down too.
Yeah, for sure. I started looking at mine and I was like, okay, I can add some lights, put some lights over the doors and really start to dress and decorate it off. And I haven't got there yet. I got to putting it together. And why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Because one thing I can say, your kits, I'm going to have you tell us what they come with, but I can tell one, folks, they smell great. So you've already got a great thing. You open up that package and it smells like campfire. So if you like campfire, this is the stuff to get. But tell us what comes with a kit.
Yeah, so in the kit, most of the kit is made from MDF. So for anyone that doesn't know what that is, it's medium density fiberboard. It's used basically in like cabinetry. So your cabinet doors are probably made from MDF. Some furniture, things like that. The stuff that I get has the lowest content of like formaldehyde in it, because also anything you import into the US for MDF has to have like a certain quality, and I go for like the best quality, which means the least amount of toxic materials in it. So there's barely anything in there, so it's kind of safe to work with. You still have to vent it because you don't want to breathe that dust in, but so don't worry, it's safe. Maybe not in California, I don't know, but yeah. So you get all the walls, you get an internal framing, so it keeps structure nice and square. You also get some details like windows, doors. You get some glazing for your windows. You get a rooftop. Everything to kind of make it look like a great starting point.
I'll show mine here real quick. I have it put together, haven't painted it yet, but you can see it, all assembled. And there's that internal frame that he's talking about. So it makes it a really strong structure. And it was so fun to build. It really was. It's simple, but it's just a nice, it snaps together really nice, glued up. And then, the detail is pretty amazing. Now I've
Yeah,
got
it
to
has a
learn a
nice
few
audible
things, but
snap
yeah,
when you click
yes.
it together.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was nice. Tight. Yeah. It's a tight structure. Like I still jigged it just to, make sure I was square. But I mean, it wasn't like you had to hold and do a ton of precision. It will stay in place as you start to glue. So it was a very nice kit. Hey, if I can put it together, anybody can put it together. So very nice job. And looking forward to eventually naming this Express Propane. And this will end up on my layout sometime in the future.
Nice.
We'll see. And I know you're also talking about you have some other projects in the plans, but I know this is a very part-time gig for you as well. So you're kind of slowly building this up as you go. But do you have any hints at maybe some future projects?
Yeah, so future projects, there's be more different types of variations of what I offer already, just because I'm kind of slowly working through that industrial park, trying to like recreate what's already there because I really like what's over there. Have some more rail served type of industries or buildings you could use for a rail served industry. I'll allude to one of them here. This is something I've been putting together. Lots of brickwork. It's gonna be a very large rail served building. The footprint of it's going to be about 2 square feet when this one's said and done. So that's how much room that one's going to take up. I'm not going to do too many of those. The only reason I'm doing this one is because you, Ray, turned me on to this building, and I thought it was absolutely amazing. So I had to at least try to make it work. And I'm going through recording the steps of building this thing so I can actually put out a video on it later of how to assemble it and just a general tips on how I assemble my kits. And yeah, I think it's going to be great. And there's going to be a lot more, not a lot more of that, but I really want to do more rail served type of things because we're, model railroaders. We like to have operations go on with these things. It's going to be kind of a mix, and I'm going to venture more into some more end scale too.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, let's take a quick look at some of the comments that are coming in from folks here, and we'll say hello. And actually, we'll go back. We mentioned Mini Prince, and he has a story just like yours of something he needed, and that was a beaver. We've heard that story from Bernard at Mini Prince. Thanks for checking in, Bernard. Alco Man Kyle stopping by saying good evening. So is Roger Coleman. Great to see you. N-Scale Train Boy says good evening from Cape Cod ? I'm not sure if he knows if he's on Cape Cod or not. Maybe that's a cry for help. So I'll have to make sure he knows where he is. Jeffrey Costco saying good morning. Also another fan coming to us from Queensland, Australia. So good morning to you. Keith, good to see you. And Josh Clements, same thing. Good evening. Kyle LeBlanc, good to see you, Kyle. Boxcar Jerry stopping by. And Keith, yes, absolutely great stuff. And I think this is, I think it's Joe, but I'm not exactly sure. But good evening. Yeah, these are awesome. Can be used in so many places and industries. Frees up modeling time for other activities. Absolutely. There's guys that love the scratch build, but you have some kind of flexibility with these kits too. I know, that you could modify and make them a little bit your own, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They're made from wood. Wood's easy to work with. You can modify it with pretty simple tools.
Absolutely. Alex Mantle also saying hello. John Parker from the BNSF Fall River Division saying hi to everyone. And Aaron saying hello from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. So good to see you, Aaron. And Robert checking in from the Great Northwestern. Appreciate you guys all checking in from all over the place, all around the globe, joining us on what's a Friday night here where Joey and I are at. He's in New York. I'm in Connecticut in that Friday night time zone. So, yeah, really close. It's funny because where you're at and some of the buildings, are places I've rail fanned. So it's been fun to kind of chat back and forth about spots, and we're really like, closer than we think. So it's been really cool to talk about that. So late night.
Yeah, about this far away on the map when I look at it.
Yeah, if you zoom out, it gets closer. The farther you get out, it gets closer. But that's awesome. So here, let's take a look again. This is the kit that we're giving away tonight, generously donated by Late Night Hobbies. Again, an awesome kit, great for a number of different things. We'll call it John Farrington's propane company or my propane company or whatever you want to flex that into. Yep, and there's it live in person as Joey's holding it up. Beautiful kit, beautifully weathered. That's I guess the trick that I got to get down is how to do all that nice painting. And I guess it's a brick at a time, right, Joey? That's really the kind of the trick to get that pattern.
Yeah, it depends on how detailed you want to go. I'm crazy. I'll paint every brick, but
yeah. Well, it looks so good. You almost that's phenomenal. Yeah. So I like that look, and I'll have to sit down one day when I can clear the entire desk off and just completely focus on that. Let me see if I can solo you here so that people can see it. Oh, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. That's what you see if you go and you start looking at brick buildings down the street. That's exactly what they look like.
Near prototypical brickwork.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's some really good looking stuff there. So let me just unsolo you here for a second. Whoops. Let's add him back in here. There we go. Now we got ourselves, and then we'll add this back in. There we go. Get everything to work here. I know Joey's having a little bit of internet issues. We're working through it, but appreciate Joey being patient and everybody else being patient as we do that. Marty Jenkins good day from Long Beach. He's over at the NMRA National Convention in Long Beach, California. He's been making quite a bit of trek around. He was up in Evanston, Wyoming, and then I don't know. I saw you sitting at the laundromat too. So good job, Marty, and have a lot of fun there at the National Convention. Everybody else checking in as well. Thank you very much for stopping by. So, let's get to a winner here before I start knocking everybody off the screen and mess this whole thing up. So let's get that wheel up here. Again, that they're going to win that kit from Late Night Hobbies. So here we go. Let's find a winner. Actually, before I say that, 124 names on the wheel tonight. The operating crew continues to grow. I appreciate every single person who has joined the operating crew and has shown their support for the podcast. It helps us keep all the podcasts from behind paywalls and keeps them from being, car insurance commercials and the whole 9 yards. We've been able to keep the podcast going, and I appreciate everybody's support in that. So without further ado, here we go. Chuck Stansel is the winner of tonight's kit. Chuck will get that kit. We'll get your address over to Joey. We'll get that shipped out to you. So thank you very much, and thank you to everybody who supports, again, the operating crew. So again, everybody check out LateNightHobbies.com. Let me get that address up there just one more time so everybody can see it. Make sure you hit it. And I'll also try to get that in the notes as well. But LateNightHobbies.com, check out what Joey's got to offer there. He's continuously adding to the shop and adding to his offerings. Very great kits. I'm looking forward to seeing what you get going with all these other buildings you've been telling me about. So again, Joey, thanks for joining us again here tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right. So until next time, everybody, enjoy your Friday night. Take care.